all the planets that we could possibly see in our solar system will be visible in the night sky coming up in late February for a full 7-planet alignment. I'm meteorologist Matt Standards. We've actually had a 6-planet alignment for the second half of January and then all the way through February. But by the end of the month, we're going to sneak in Mercury up this ecliptic. We'll talk all about it before Saturn then exits. So it's a short window, the last 4 or 5 days, where you'll be able to see all our planets in the night sky. 5 of them visible, 2 of them you're going to need a telescope, maybe a pair of binoculars for one of them. We'll talk a little bit more, but let's go through the planets really quick from order closest to the sun to the farthest. We've got Mercury, we've got Venus, of course here on Earth, we've got 8 planets total. We're not, of course, counting Earth, but 7 will be visible to us. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Here's Pluto. It is technically considered a dwarf planet. Just like you guys when you're probably growing up, you probably had maybe a project you had to work on or even a play. I've told this story before, but we had a play. I was Mars, kind of had to dress up like the planet too. But at the end of the jingle, because the debate was going on about whether Pluto is a planet or not, we had to include at the end, and maybe Pluto, as we were kind of all standing there up in a line. I feel bad. I remember who Pluto was, but I kind of feel bad for him. But now, Pluto, of course, not a planet, dwarf planet, but not one of the normal planets. So take Pluto off, 8 planets total, 7 that we could possibly even see. Let's take a look at the month. For the first part of the month and all the way through, really, we've got 6 planets that you can see. 4 visible, and then 2 with a telescope or binoculars. But by the 23rd, that's Sunday, Mercury will start to get into our view as the sun is setting. It might be kind of hard to see at first, but these will be the days that you could possibly see the full 7-planet alignment. We've got the peak conjunction coming up on the 24th of February. That's kind of cool because as Mercury's coming up, it's going to be right next to Saturn. So the 24th will be a kind of a cool day where the 2 planets, Saturn and Mercury, are so close. Both are visible with the naked eye. It may kind of look like just one bright star, but it's really got 2 planets right next to each other. And for the rest of the time, Saturn starts to sink. I'll show you the kind of the representation, the illustration that we made for you. Saturn starts to sink. Mercury comes a little bit higher in the sky. But Saturn then leaves by March 1st. So it's just this limited window. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days where you could see all 7 planets in the night sky. One thing we got to talk about, though, of course, the moon. When you have a full moon out, especially we're talking about the moon there just after sunset, so you really need a full moon in order to do that. Full moon's February 11th through the 12th. Call it the full snow moon. And just for fun, here are some of the other names. A lot of these come from Native American tribes that would mark their moons by parts of the calendar to kind of keep track of their calendar. But we've got the eagle moon, the bear moon, groundhog moon. I like this one, the hungry moon, and the raccoon moon. But the full snow moon is earlier in the month. By the time we get to the alignment, the moon probably won't rise until after midnight. So we don't have to worry about moonlight making it harder to see. When you've got a lot of moonlight, it's harder to see some of the stars and planets, or if you're trying to see a meteor shower, things like that. You don't really want the moon out there. You want it to be as dark as possible. Of course, you want it as clear as possible. We want the clouds out of here. Now let's take kind of a top-down view. If you could sit at the top of our solar system, look down, see the different planets going around. This is what it would roughly look like for the end of February. I've got it set technically for the 24th of February. Of course, you got the sun in the middle. When we look at Earth, you notice how, of course, one half is dark, one half is light. So the one facing, of course, the sun is the lit side. When we're talking sunset, we're talking right here kind of on the edge or a little bit into the dark. What can you see? Of course, the moon's on the other side at that time, so you don't have to worry about the moon getting in the way or any kind of moonlight. You can see Mars. So if you're kind of looking, you don't want to have the sun really in your angle. You can see Mars, you can see Jupiter, you can see Uranus. There's Mercury. Mercury finally comes in because it's moving so fast. For the past couple of weeks, when we've had the 6-planet alignment, Mercury's been over here, so the sun's been blocking it. But we've got Saturn slipping away. It's slow because the Earth is actually moving in this direction. So Saturn will eventually leave by the end of the month into March, and there's Neptune as well. You can see those. So you can kind of see everything's sort of, if you've split everything in half, you've got all the planets on one side. Here's Pluto, so if it was a planet, it would not be a full planetary alignment. Because it's not a planet, we can say it is a full planetary alignment. You can see those orbits as they're going around. Now, one thing to note, it will not be a line per se. It's going to be an arc. We call that the ecliptic, because everyone's ecliptic is going to be a little bit different depending on your latitude. But we're talking mainly from a northern hemisphere perspective, because we're kind of tilted up. It'll look like the plane that these planets are on, roughly, will be more of an arc. And what we're going to notice is Mars is going to be kind of at the top of the sky, maybe a little bit to the left when you're looking to the southwest and south. You'll see Mars, there's Jupiter, there's Uranus. Now, remember, Uranus, when we take a look at the magnitude, you won't be able to see it with your eyes. So the ones that have a circle around, those are the planets that you will need a telescope for. You might get away with a really good pair of binoculars, but really a telescope would be best. It doesn't have to be super powerful, but a little telescope would do you well. Venus will be visible. There's Saturn and there's Mercury. All right, so Mercury this whole time has not been in the planetary alignment for this sixth planetary alignment that we've had for a while. But what you'll notice is at the start, Mercury will be really close to the sunset, and then it's going to start rising pretty quickly. Mercury moves fast around the sun. Saturn will start to slip. They're all technically headed in the same direction. The problem is Saturn's moving at a much slower pace than what Earth is, so Saturn will kind of slip away and you won't be able to see it anymore. So for a while, we should see these seven planets. The circles, remember, are the ones that you're going to need a telescope for. Let's get into the brightness of these planets, though, how bright or dim they are. We use a magnitude level in order to be able to register, are you going to be able to see it or not? So what we can see with the human eye, theoretically, on the clearest of nights, when it's super dark, you could see up to a +6, so a 6 magnitude. However, I would say it's probably just a little bit less than that in most times, because there's a little bit of light pollution. Sometimes you have some light clouds or things like that. Or we're looking at sunset anyways, so there's still some light from the sun as it's still setting. We're kind of in that dusk period. So what we can see, here's the North Star. You can see that at a magnitude of 2 or so. But a lot of our planets are kind of just slightly in the negative. Negative is actually better for us to see. Look at the sun. That's about a -27 magnitude or so. So it's really, really bright. So I know it's kind of weird, but the more negative you go, the brighter it is. The more positive you go, the dimmer an object is. Here's the moon. It's at a -11, 12 or so. Here's the Hubble telescope, space telescope. When it's looking, it can see a magnitude up to 26, 27, 28 or so as it's looking deep into space. So here we are trying to look. So let's take a look about what the planets and how bright they should shine in the night sky. You've got Mars, -0.4. So you should be able to see that pretty easily. Remember, +6 is the limit for our eyes. Here's Jupiter, even brighter, -2.3. The reason why we've circled Uranus is a magnitude of 5.8. Very theoretically, you could see Uranus, but the problem is it's right there at the max. And since we've got some light pollution, it's going to make it very tough to see. So really, maybe a pair of binoculars could work in order to see Uranus, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Venus, -4.8. That is great. That's going to be one of the best ones to see. In fact, I do think it is the best one to see. But then here's Neptune at +7.8. Too dim to see. You're going to definitely need a telescope for that one. But a weak one. You don't need something too crazy. Here's Saturn at 1.1, so you should be able to see that one. And then Mercury actually will be a little bit brighter than Saturn at a -1.2. So right along the ecliptic, this is what it would look like. We've erased the planets with the circles. You're just looking at the night sky. Look south. Now, to see Saturn and Mercury, you're going to look a little bit more southwest. But this is roughly what the sky should look like for the full planet alignment. Remember, 5 visible, 2 you'll need a telescope for. Why is this a big deal? Well, the next time that we'll have a full planetary alignment will be in 2028. But what a lot of people think is when you want an alignment, you think of an alignment, you think of the the planets really close together. You know, if you were a Disney fan growing up especially, there's Hercules where all the planets align and then it goes down and the Titans are released. There's a lot of different movies with planetary alignments or stories about planetary alignments where something bad happened or it explains the cause of something drastic, maybe a natural disaster, or maybe some sort of political figure in that time of day. But this one, the next time we'll have one will be 2028. The next time that we'll have planets that really, really close together, more of kind of like a line, could be in 2040. So it's not often that we get a full 7-planet alignment. We actually get 5 and 6 planet alignments fairly often. I mean, not all the time, of course, but we can get them, maybe every other year or so, just kind of depends. But a full planetary alignment, that's kind of special. You'll want to make sure you look up at the night sky just after sunset, late February 24th could be one of the good ones when you'll see Saturn and Mercury really close together for their conjunction. Space is pretty cool. Hopefully you have clear enough skies to see it.